Good evening again, and Broncos Yakofi Yesu again. And today, my second story is this: that human being, we are so clever. That is what we think we are. But to be honest with you, and to be honest with myself, that sometimes we are our own causes. This seems very funny, but then it's a serious matter that I want to discuss with you. Just listen to me just a little bit and maybe make your own analysis. You see, this time the world is, not the way maybe when we were young, the way we see it. Because we have created our own problems, and the problem is actually swallowing ourselves. Now, sometimes when I hear matters like this, I'm like, wow, what is going on? Because we have neglected what God has actually instilled in us. We have neglected what God wants us to do as human beings. We have taken our own knowledge, we have taken our own, it's not a problem at all. But we have actually cooked this problem and it is swallowing us. And we think we're clever because we know more than the person or the God who created us. But you know what? Whether you believe it or not, I'm telling you today that you have a mighty power somewhere. We have a human that created us, whose name is God, because he said he created us in his own image. And so if we don't listen to him, these are the problems that we are going to pass through. And then we will start playing games. That why did God do this? Why did he do this? Thinking we are clever than him. But we're not. We cannot get even a very small, minute something of God's sense. His ways are different. His ways are not the ways of we, the human being. His thinking is different. He's a mighty Father, and he knows everything. Look at the creation around you. All that we have created is from him. Nobody goes anywhere for a material. If you're going to invent something, all the materials are already embedded here on earth before we get it. Why am I saying this? Not for my story to get, so bored. I'm starting here. Like these days, people are chasing food for children. Children from a day to, let's say, 6 months. But we are so dummy that the Creator has made a breast for our newborns, our new babies, our infants, that we should feed them with our own breast when you give birth to them. In his own clever way, he has made us a way that as soon as we conceive, he starts giving us what we can give to our children in our breast, our mother's breast. But now, because of cosmetics, because we don't want to look like an old people, we want our breast to be there. But it is for a purpose. No wonder these days that there's a lot of breast cancer around this world. Because the purpose of the breast is for the child to feed on when she's young or when he's young. You see, I'm telling you this, that as soon as you give birth to your child, the breast milk that you have contains a lot of spiritual gifts, wisdom, knowledge, everything that God wants us to have is in that breast. That gives us a lot of good things that as a human being you need for your start. But these days, especially here in America, people are blaming the government because there are no food for the infants, forgetting that the breast that you have there is for your child. That is where you have to feed your child from. No wonder that these days they talk about mental illness. Mental illness for the young ones. No matter now that sicknesses children, the sicknesses that children are having is unusual, because before or in the olden days, these children did not have that kind of sicknesses. These days, before you see a 20-year-old is bald, his head, the head is bald. He's not having any hair on his head because of all these things. The nutrition that he has to get for a start, he's not getting it. We think we are clever, so we have made we have formulated some food that we think that is good. We have affected our food like with fertilizer, and that is what we're doing to our kids too. So now they grow without brains. They grow without the food that they need for a start, or the food that they need for the growth of for their start. Now somebody will say, hey, what is this guy talking about? I'm talking about the things that we need to do for our kids, so that when they grow, they will have the brain and they will not have this mental illness that 1, 2, 3, a kid is behaving like a cow because they've been fed by the cow milk. And so the cow is also praying to God that, God, I don't have breast milk for my kids because human beings are using it for their kids. So let them behave the way cow, am behaving. So that is why some of our kids are behaving that way. Now, I'm telling you something, that your engine that you have in your car is supposed to be propelled with, gas. That gives it the power. Now, if you go and pour water into that gas container or the gas tank, what do you think the car will start to behave? If you think the oil that we use for cooking, if you put that into your engine as an engine oil, what do you think it's going to happen to the engine? So it is a human being. God has made it in a way that as soon as we are giving birth, we need to start taking our mother's breast, because that is where all the good things, all the nutritions and everything comes from. That is where all the minds and everything that God has for us is in. But these days, we have made some baby formulas and that sort of thing. Now, if your child is not behaving good, if your child is having some kind of sickness, if your child is in school and he's not clever, if your child becomes mental ill, then you start blaming somebody for it. We are human beings. We need to think. Because we are not thinking, we are getting all kinds of problems for ourselves. And this is a big problem that now the world is facing. Because every woman don't want to feed their children with their breast. But God has actually made that purposely for these kids when they are given birth. Especially from the first day to maybe 4 months, 6 months there. You know, we are not encouraging women to do that. In the olden days when we were born, we were fed with our mother's breast for a long time. So for me, look, plenty hair. I'm over 60, but still, you know, I put a little bit of dark something in there anyway. But, you know, it's all from the fertilizer that we eat. We have adulterated our foods that we eat. And so we're not going to be strong. We are all going to have problems. Mental illnesses and all kinds of illnesses that we're going to have is because of what we eat. It's because of what we put into our bodies. I wonder why human beings that God has given us brains, we cannot think and do the things that will help us in life. We are only chasing money, 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 money. Somebody is making this for kids because he's going to get money. He will use any means to get it, whether it is good or bad. And we are getting all kinds of obesity somewhere where we don't know where it is coming from. Now we are planting with the fertilizer here and there, and we are spoiling our seeds. So we need to sit down and think about all these things. And it is not everything that the government has to do for us, especially with feeding of our children, and your breasts are there, and you want the government to make, I don't get it. So this is a Bubronko Kofi Yesu again. My advice to our women and all we, the fathers, that we have to encourage our wives and our mothers and our daughters to at least give our children some breastfeeding. Now, all these things that we call birth controls and all that, it is in there. If you feed your child with your breast for that 6 months, you're not going to get pregnant. But if you don't do this, then you're going to, get pregnant in no time. That is what our mothers used in the olden days, to at least space their children every year or every 2 years. We need to think as human beings. Thank you very much. And this is Abubronkosia Kofi Yesu again. May God bless you. May God actually open our eyes to see all these things that we need to do so that our lives will be better. Thank you, and I will come again. Abubronkosia Kofi Yesu. Something that God has ordained will never pass. You got to hear me this again. And then let's make ourselves, in a way that we will enjoy life. Thank you, and God bless you. Bye-bye.